The reopened graves. Across Europe, archaeologists have observed that around 1,400 years ago, there was a notable trend of people reopening graves to retrieve items from within. Experts have worked to uncover the reasons behind this phenomenon, and a recent study suggests that these were not widespread grave robberies, as initially believed. Surveys of excavated cemeteries in 5 different regions across Europe indicate that this practice occurred from the 6th to the 8th centuries. The selection of items taken was surprisingly deliberate. People often prioritized brooches and swords, while many other valuable objects, including those made of silver and gold, were frequently left behind. Strangely, they also removed many items that were in poor condition, with no monetary worth or practical use. The research team noted that most graves were reopened within a single generation of the original burial, at a point when soft tissues had decayed, but the wooden coffins had not yet collapsed. They speculated that the reasons for reopening the graves might have varied, but the objects taken were likely symbolic, possibly family heirlooms passed down through generations. This custom peaked in the 7th century, but had almost completely vanished before the 8th century. While the study has brought new insights and a basis for further exploration, the exact reasons behind this practice remain a mystery. Stolen antiquities. In May of this year, Italian police announced they had recovered fragments of 6 fresco paintings believed to have been stolen from Roman villas in the area of Pompeii during the 1970s. 3 of the fresco fragments date back to the 1st century and depict a cherub playing a flute, a dancing woman carrying a tray, and the head of a woman. These were taken from the ancient coastal city of Stabiae, located about 2.8 miles southwest of Pompeii, which was also buried under ash when Mount Vesuvius erupted in the year 79 AD. These artworks were smuggled to the United States, the United Kingdom, and Switzerland during the 1990s. Italy's Carabinieri Art Protection Squad seized these frescoes last year as part of a major investigation into the illegal trade of archaeological artifacts. The remaining 3 frescoes were recovered in 2012 when police arrested looters who were illegally excavating at a villa in Civita Giuliana, about half a mile northwest of Pompeii. At the same villa, where excavation began in 2017, many years after the looters had dug their tunnels, archaeologists discovered the remains of 2 victims of the eruption, believed to be the villa's owner and a slave. The return of these ancient works to their rightful home has been welcomed by officials and experts alike, especially as efforts to combat artifact smuggling continue to intensify. The Charlotte Whale. In Vermont, United States, in the year 1849, while constructing a railroad in the small town of Charlotte, a group of workers discovered the skeleton of a beluga whale. The find immediately raised the question of why the remains of a sea creature would be lying in a field nearly 200 meters from the ocean. Known as the Charlotte whale, this specimen is one of several whale remains found in the landlocked state of Vermont. With no other explanation available, some people once suggested the whale was a result of Noah's flood. However, a more scientific explanation is based on the theory of glaciers and the Ice Age, developed by Swiss geologist and biologist Louis Agassiz about a decade before the Charlotte whale was found. Between approximately 12,500 and 10,000 years ago, what is now the Champlain Valley was covered by an ancient body of water called the Champlain Sea. Melting glaciers formed this sea, pressing the land far below sea level under their massive weight. Over thousands of years, the land gradually rebounded, bringing the era of the Champlain Sea to an end. The Charlotte whale is believed to have been an adult, about 12 feet long, though its sex is unknown. Because the bones were preserved using old techniques, it is not possible to determine its exact age by radiocarbon dating. However, scientists believe the whale lived roughly 11,500 to 11,000 years ago. The Throne of Solomon. Situated beside a volcanic crater lake in West Azerbaijan province, northwestern Iran, Takht-e-Soliman, or the Throne of Solomon, is a fortified complex dating back to the Sasanian Empire. Originally built in the 5th century as a Zoroastrian fire temple, it is widely regarded as a cradle of Zoroastrianism, the state religion of the Sasanians. The site sits at an altitude of more than 6,500 feet in a remote valley, surrounded by volcanic mountain ranges. In the 13th century, under the rule of Abaka Khan of the Ilkhanid dynasty, it was expanded and became his summer residence. Drawing on the existing ruins, the Khan saw this as an opportunity to legitimize the Ilkhanid dynasty. At the height of its power, the site became the political center of the empire. Here, the Ilkhanids, once nomads, settled down, maintaining East Asian traditions while integrating into the region's new culture. This unique blend is evident in the architecture of Takht-e-Soliman, with its polygonal buildings, dragon motifs, and features reminiscent of Mongol headquarters in China. Evidence suggests the area was inhabited even before the first temple was built, possibly as early as 500 BC. Due to its remote location, Takht-e-Soliman is often overlooked by travelers, but those who do visit find it a place of mystery and haunting beauty. Ancient cave containing prehistoric tools. In the northern Cape Province of South Africa, Wonderwork Cave is a treasure trove of information about humanity's distant past. Here, scientists have uncovered evidence that our ancestors were making stone tools as far back as 1,800,000 years ago. These tools were found in a sediment layer that also contained animal bones and traces of fire. Through various dating methods, experts determined that the transition from crude Oldowan tools, such as sharp flakes or chopping stones, to more advanced implements like primitive hand axes, occurred around 1 million years ago, roughly the same period when humans first learned to make fire intentionally. Wonderwork Cave may be the oldest known dwelling ever used by prehistoric humans. Excavations began here in the 1940s and have continued ever since, yielding numerous ancient drawings and valuable artifacts that reflect a long history of human presence. These discoveries are helping scientists piece together missing links in the story of human evolution and migration, as well as the connection between that journey and ancient climate change. The Lost Village. French and Spanish historical records from the 1560s describe a Native American village named Sarabay in what is now northeastern Florida, but its exact location has puzzled archaeologists for a long time. Only recently, researchers from the University of North Florida announced they had discovered a settlement they believed to be Sarabay, located just south of Big Talbot Island. Based on previous excavations from the late 1990s, the team uncovered more than 50 shards of Spanish and indigenous pottery dating to the late 16th or early 17th century, along with charred corn cobs and artifacts made of bone, stone, and shell. This area once belonged to the Mokama-speaking Timucua, a tribe who lived along the northern Florida Atlantic coast and were among the first to encounter the Spanish when they arrived in 1562. Further research is needed to confirm whether this site is truly Sarabay, and the team hopes to find traces of houses and public buildings as they continue their excavations over the next 3 years, as part of the UNF Archaeology Lab's Mokama project. Alien bones on Mars. A recent survey shows that more than 60% of people believe intelligent life exists beyond Earth. Could that belief soon become reality, thanks to the latest findings from NASA's Curiosity rover? Imagine a world where humanity is no longer alone in the vast universe. What would happen if solid evidence of life on Mars, such as fossilized remains, were to suddenly appear? No doubt, many people would be thrown into a state of shock. Perhaps that's one reason why certain photographs seem to be forgotten. From the dusty plains of Mars, a blurry photograph has sparked global controversy. Is it just a strangely shaped rock? Or could it actually be a fragment of bone, a chilling whisper from a lost civilization? Maybe this image will help shed some light. Here is the picture, enlarged and placed next to the image of a hip bone for comparison. It's hard to deny the similarity between them. Some believe that what the rover discovered is indeed evidence of a vanished civilization on Mars. The Martian Archaeology Research Group has analyzed these photos in detail, even claiming to have found images of mushrooms, lichens, and other life forms on the red planet. Over time, more and more people have come to believe that NASA is deliberately concealing the truth about Martian civilization, a civilization that, judging by the state of these bones, may have disappeared long ago. A commenter named TJ Deo wrote, "After years of research, I am now more convinced than ever that Mars holds more mysteries than NASA is revealing." Do you agree with that point of view? The underworld carvings. Excavations at Yazilikaya Rock Sanctuary, a Hittite temple in present-day Turkey, have been ongoing for nearly 2 centuries. But only recently have archaeologists made a breakthrough, decoding an ancient calendar and a cosmic map carved in stone. It appears that the Hittites believed in an underworld existing beneath the earth. On the limestone walls, dating back about 3,200 years, more than 90 vivid images of animals, deities, and monsters are depicted. These carvings were first discovered by French archaeologist and historian Charles Texier in 1834. Nearly 200 years later, researchers finally believe they understand the meaning behind these inscriptions. They suggest the carvings tell a creation myth, encompassing Earth, the sky, and the underworld. Depictions of sun goddesses and storm gods are placed higher than those of ordinary humans, alongside symbols of the seasons and phases of the moon. Another chamber illustrates the underworld, featuring the god of the sword. In addition to representing a symbolic image of the cosmos, as one researcher described, the engravings also reflect the cycles of life and rebirth, including the changing seasons and the day-night cycle. Created between roughly 1700 and 1100 BC, Yazilikaya Sanctuary embodies the Hittite society's beliefs about the structure of the universe and their spiritual worldview, featuring depictions of some of the 17 gods and goddesses they worshipped. the stone circle on Mars, who built this mysterious monument. If you're still not convinced, keep watching. The next story is about a stone circle recently discovered on Mars. People have dubbed it Mars Henge. It is a massive ring of stones atop a red mound, and some have speculated that it was built by the very civilization that constructed Stonehenge on Earth. It's hard not to be astonished by the images that captured this scene. In the desolate Martian landscape, nothing but dusty red hills and scattered black rocks, a monument towers atop a high mound. No need for lengthy descriptions. The photograph, provided by the Lunar and Planetary Laboratory at the University of Arizona, tells the story itself. It's an unedited, raw NASA image showing a circular stone formation on the hilltop. No tricks, no Photoshop. This is reality, not a joke or a digital fabrication. But does it really prove that those who built Stonehenge once set foot on Mars, or that Martians came to Earth to construct Stonehenge? The answer depends on your perspective, but evidence like this increasingly suggests that something truly unusual is going on. That said, it's also difficult to determine the exact scale of the stone circle. It might be many times larger than Stonehenge, or it could just be a small pile of rocks made to look larger than it is. Some have even proposed that it could simply be the remains of a giant ant colony on Mars. The hidden secrets of the White House. The White House has witnessed countless events throughout history, but the secrets lying deep beneath this grand building remain an enigma. Beneath its stately, majestic exterior lies a hidden world full of surprises. Long associated with generations of American presidents, the White House contains strange details and mysterious corners that most people have never heard of. From secret passageways to concealed underground chambers, the White House is far more than just an old mansion. The story begins when George Washington oversaw the construction of the White House in 1792. However, he never lived there. The honor of being the first president to move in went to John Adams in 1800, though at the time the building was still unfinished, more a construction site than a home. Over the years, each president left their own mark. Some changes were practical, while others reflected personal taste. Chester A. Arthur is a prime example. He had a particular passion for Tiffany-stained glass. During his time in office, the White House was transformed into a place of dazzling luxury, with sparkling wall lamps that made the rooms glow like a ballroom. If there were a vote, Chester A. Arthur would surely be remembered as one of the most stylish presidents in American history. But that is only the beginning of the story. The real secrets lie beyond. Secret passageways. Contrary to what many people think, the White House does not have countless secret doors or tunnels like those in spy movies. Its design is rather straightforward compared to many grand mansions of its era. Still, there are secrets hidden deep within. One of them is a real tunnel called the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, located directly beneath the White House. This facility was built during President Franklin D. Roosevelt's administration, immediately after the attack on Pearl Harbor. It is a top-secret bunker that has been used by at least 2 presidents in emergency situations, by George W. Bush on September 11th and by Donald Trump in 2020. It is the perfect place to be completely cut off from the outside world. There are also a few other tunnels under the White House, one leading to the South Lawn and another connecting to the Treasury Department. If a president ever needed a quick escape or simply wanted to slip out quietly for a midnight snack, these tunnels could certainly come in handy. But it is the White House basement that truly holds the most curious and fascinating stories. President Roosevelt's determination to overcome his disability is evident in his daily routines. One example is the indoor swimming pool built in the basement to aid his therapy for polio. Directly above that pool is the press briefing room, where journalists gather to question the president. Few would suspect that just a few steps below that serious atmosphere lies a silent pool, ready for someone to dive in. The pool isn't the only place in the White House where presidents could unwind. In 1947, a one-lane bowling alley was built to boost staff morale. It was a favorite spot for President Nixon, who often came to bowl late at night to relax. There may still be many more tunnels and secret rooms the public has never heard of, and perhaps that is for the best. The Winchester Mystery House. If you've ever wished to live in a haunted house built like a maze, the Winchester Mystery House in California is the embodiment of that dream. Originally just an 8-room farmhouse in Santa Clara Valley in the mid-19th century, the house gradually transformed into a sprawling mansion under Sarah Winchester, the widow of William Winchester, founder of the famous rifle company. After inheriting $20 million and a 50% stake in the company, Sarah possessed an enormous fortune, but was said to carry a curse. Rumor had it that the house she built was haunted by the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles. Personal tragedy only added to the haunting legend. Her infant daughter, then her father, mother, husband, and sister all died in succession. Burdened by these losses, she left New Haven, Connecticut, to seek a fresh start in San Jose, California. As soon as she settled in, she began expanding the house for her sister's families, and from then on, construction never ceased. For 38 years, the house was under constant construction, day and night, until her death in 1922. The 4-story mansion with 160 rooms is filled with oddities: 2,000 doors, 40 staircases, and 47 fireplaces, including staircases that lead straight into the ceiling or dead ends. Before the earthquake of 1906, the house was 7 stories tall, but part of it collapsed, and Sarah had that section boarded up, abandoning it. Many believe Sarah built this maze to confuse the spirits. Legend says a medium advised her to keep building endlessly to appease the souls killed by Winchester guns. Historians, however, argue that she was simply fascinated by architecture. Growing up around carpenters and constantly reading design magazines, Sarah may have let her imagination run wild with every detail of the house. Yet, the mysteries surrounding the house have not ended. In 2016, a hidden attic room was discovered, raising the total room count to 161. This was the room where Sarah was reportedly trapped during the 1906 earthquake. Inside were an organ, a sewing machine, a Victorian sofa, and some old paintings like a time capsule from the early 20th century. Today, the Winchester Mystery House is a famous tourist attraction. Visitors come for the bizarre architecture and stay for the haunted legends. Walking through hallways full of doors that open into nothingness or climbing staircases that lead nowhere, guests are left amazed and chilled, never knowing whether there's still another secret room waiting in the shadows. The mysterious tomb of Alexander the Great. For over 2,000 years, one great question has haunted historians and archaeologists. Where is the final resting place of Alexander the Great, the legendary conqueror of the ancient world? Perhaps the time has come for someone to find his tomb. If we piece together the evidence, maybe we can identify the most likely spot for the Macedonian king's burial. At just 32 years old, Alexander had built an empire stretching from the Balkans in Europe all the way to Pakistan. It was one of the largest empires humanity has ever known. Yet to this day, no one can visit his tomb, as the burial site of this great king has never been found. Alexander died in Babylon in 323 BC, sparking a long period of chaos. His meteoric rise and dramatic conquests shook the Persian Empire and left a power vacuum after his sudden death. Alexander was the glue that held the empire together. With his passing, his generals plunged into bloody civil wars, known as the Wars of the Diadochi battles for succession. The empire fragmented as his generals divided it among themselves. Ptolemy seized Egypt, founding the Ptolemaic dynasty, the last dynasty of ancient Egypt, which lasted nearly 3 centuries and ended with Cleopatra VII's death. Legend has it that Ptolemy brought Alexander's body to Egypt, to Memphis, in 321 BC. Historical records say his remains were kept in Memphis until a new tomb was built in Alexandria. According to Egyptologist Chris Naunton, that is where the trail ends. It's unclear when the tomb was expected to be completed, whether it was ever finished, or what became of it. Some accounts mention a mysterious tomb known only as the Soma in Alexandria. This may have been the final resting place of the Macedonian king, but where exactly is it? Some believe the tomb is now underwater. The ancient historian Strabo once wrote that Alexander's tomb lay in the palace's district, and archaeologists believe that area may have sunk centuries ago. This is a mystery that may never be solved. Chris Naunton says it's quite possible the tomb of Alexander will never be found, a rather pessimistic view. Still, other scholars believe the tomb will be discovered, perhaps in the near future. Former Egyptian Minister of Antiquities, Zahi Hawass, believes Alexander may be buried in the Latin cemetery in Alexandria. Another theory suggests he rests in the Shatbi tomb, a large, inscriptionless tomb. This burial chamber dates to the period of Alexander's death and resembles Macedonian tombs. No one knows who is buried there, but it very well could be Alexander himself. Do you think Alexander the Great's tomb has been lost forever, or will archaeologists soon discover his final resting place? Curiosity and the dragon bones discovery. Forget about the Targaryen dragons now. There may be gigantic fossilized bones of dragon-like extraterrestrial creatures on Mars. It sounds like science fiction, but it is real. On April 1st, 2023, the Curiosity rover came across strange objects never before seen on Mars. Don't let the date fool you. This is not an April Fool's joke, just a coincidence. For over a decade, Curiosity has been wandering Gale Crater, searching for traces of life. Gale Crater is a massive impact site created by a meteorite, but it was once the bed of an ancient lake. Today, the idea that Mars once had water is no longer up for debate. Curiosity has found clear evidence of ancient water waves on Mars, after 10 years of crawling across the dry lake bed. Where there was water, there could have been life, and that makes this new discovery even more thrilling. The rover, about the size of a standard car, captured this remarkable photograph. People immediately noticed the bizarre shapes, which looked like dragon bones. Pay attention to the spiky protrusions, they're just like the spines on a dragon's back. A close-up image processed by Paul Hammond from NASA data makes the details even clearer. They look nothing like ordinary rock formations, but instead resemble the spines of a giant lizard or even an alien dragon. Of course, NASA scientists won't call them dragon bones. The official explanation is that these are just rocks, utterly mundane. Astrobiologist Natalie A. Cabral stated that after 20 years of studying Mars, these are the strangest rocks she has ever seen. Still, Natalie insists that it's all just a natural geological phenomenon. Not everyone agrees with that explanation. Many argue that if a similar discovery were made on Earth, it would be identified as the fossil of a plant or the spine of a fish, not a natural rock structure. Who knows? Maybe these are not fire-breathing dragons from legend, but the fossils of enormous sea monsters that once lived in the ancient lakes of Mars. Perhaps they are the remains of a Martian version of the Loch Ness Monster, extinct for billions of years. Could these bizarre dragon bones be the key to unlocking an ancient, unknown Martian ecosystem? The search for mysterious skeletons on the Red Planet is far from over, because even stranger things may still be waiting to be found. Why are there so many female skeletons in an ancient cemetery in Spain? Archaeologists are baffled by a Halloween-worthy mystery. They've discovered a disturbingly skewed ratio of female skeletons to males in a prehistoric burial site, twice as many women as men. Something very strange happened here, and scientists still can't explain it. This ancient cemetery is located in Granada and displays an extreme imbalance. For every one male skeleton, there are as many as 10 female skeletons, based on a substantial sample size. The region's burial sites have yielded over 55,000 skeletons, some dating back as far as 5,600 years. There had been many earlier studies, but no one knew the exact gender of those buried. It was only when scientists began using new bioarchaeological methods analyzing DNA and unique proteins in tooth enamel that they finally found the answer. Now, with just a fragment of bone, they can determine gender. What amazed scientists was the gender imbalance across all age groups, since human populations normally have a near-even ratio of men to women. Exceptions usually appear only in times of war or mass migration, when male burials tend to outnumber females. But here, it's the opposite, shocking everyone. Researchers believe that society at the time may have intentionally maintained a higher proportion of women. The large number of female skeletons doesn't mean women died more often, but rather that women genuinely outnumbered men. If polygamy was common, one man might have had as many as 9 wives, with no need to envy the neighbors. There are many theories about the cause of this phenomenon. Perhaps the Stone Age civilization here followed a matrilineal system, where lineage was traced through the mother rather than the father. Or maybe, men at the time simply favored having many wives. Searching for extraterrestrial life in space. Some of the most convincing UFO sightings haven't come from Earth, but from outer space itself. Neil Armstrong is said to have encountered a UFO during the Apollo 11 mission in 1969. A few years earlier, on the Gemini 4 mission in 1965, Jim McDivitt saw a white, cylindrical object floating in space, but no one else saw it because his crewmate, Ed White, was asleep at the time. Poor Ed. For the rest of his life, Jim maintained that what he saw was an unidentified piece of artificial debris, suggesting it was a fragment from a spacecraft or satellite, but definitely not of human origin. Space journalist James Oberg, on the other hand, argued that it was merely debris from the Gemini launch vehicle's second stage. Yet what intrigues many people even more are the things Armstrong witnessed on the moon. He reported seeing 2 pale blue glows, possibly flying saucers. However, these objects were later explained as discarded parts of the spacecraft. Perhaps we'll never truly know what Armstrong saw before he took one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. According to Armstrong, it was a beam of light appearing outside the spacecraft window, drifting alongside the entire crew. Strange, isn't it? That's exactly how astronaut Leroy Chiao felt in 2005 during a spacewalk at the International Space Station. Leroy described the light as looking like an upside-down check mark. While many thought it was a UFO, Leroy later revised his account and said it was a fishing boat's lights. But it's hard to believe that a fishing boat could be so visible from space. There have been enough sightings of strange objects in space to make you wonder if Earth is like a magnet for aliens. What do you think about these mysteries? The City of 4 Mysterious Treasures. Over the past few decades, archaeologists have uncovered 4 separate treasures in the ancient walled city of Catala, located in the province of Cucuteni, Spain. Nicknamed the City of 4 Mysterious Treasures, this fortified medieval settlement was founded around the year 785 AD. Two of the treasures date back to the 9th century, during the period of Islamic governors in Spain. The other two are from the 13th century. The first hoard, containing more than 100 ancient coins from the 9th century, was discovered in 1960. Unfortunately, for archaeologists, the farmer who found it sold almost all of the coins. In 1995, a construction worker found the second hoard, which included about 400 grams of silver coins from the Umayyad dynasty of Al-Andalus and other Islamic dynasties. In 2004, archaeologists found a third hoard with 71 coins dating from 1212 to 1217 during the reign of Alfonso XIII. And that's not all. The most recent treasure, discovered in 2010, contained 29 coins minted from the late 12th century up to 1264. These treasures may have been hidden during periods of turmoil and danger. At its height, Catala had about 4,000 inhabitants. The city declined at the end of the 13th century and lost its military importance as the battle lines between Christians and Muslims shifted south. Researchers believe these discoveries are proof that fortunes can be hidden away in secret places, and a reminder that not everyone who buries treasure is lucky enough to survive and reclaim it. Searching for alien skeletons. Maybe it's time for a little game, though it might remind some people of Jigsaw from horror movies. It's actually more like a round of Where's Waldo than anything scary. Here's a photo. Can you spot the alien creature hiding within? This image was taken by the Curiosity rover, the very same robot that captured photos of those fossilized dragon bones. However, this particular photo was taken in 2016, and it seems to defy all natural explanations. Many believe the photo shows the skeleton of an alien being stretched out across the rocks, wearing a strange helmet, or maybe it's just a case of pareidolia, a trick of the human brain. The owner of the Paranormal Crucible YouTube channel claims that the helmet might be evidence that this is the skeleton of a king or a fallen warrior from ancient Mars. If you haven't spotted the skeleton yet, just look at the magnified and annotated image by Paranormal Crucible. Each bone, the collarbone, cervical vertebrae, arm bone, hand bone, shin bone, fibula has been clearly marked. The level of detail in this analysis is remarkable, as if examining the skeleton of an alien overlord. Scott C. Waring, a familiar name to UFO enthusiasts, commented that the evidence in this photo could shake the world of paleontology, a bold claim. In the end, is this really the trace of an intelligent civilization on Mars, or just an illusion for those always searching for mysteries on the red planet? The great journey of the rover. Since the Perseverance rover landed in an ancient crater on Mars, scientists have been waiting for it to complete a mission of extraordinary importance. At last, that moment has arrived. 3.5 years ago, Perseverance touched down in Jezero crater. Recently, it began the climb up the crater rim, where the oldest rocks on the red planet await discovery. This area is believed by researchers to be one of the places where life might once have thrived. Suppose an alien species sends a rover to a desolate Earth 2 billion years from now. Would it find evidence of humanity? Perhaps it would land in the Sahara Desert, the dried-out Atlantic seabed, or the heart of Death Valley, where no trace of life remains. On a vast planet, a handful of randomly landing robots could easily miss an entire civilization, even one that once covered the surface. That's why, when rovers only explore the bottoms of ancient lakebeds, it's hard to find signs of advanced societies. But things are getting more dramatic than ever. As Perseverance approaches the crater rim, it gets closer to Mars's secrets. According to NASA's Art Thompson, Perseverance has completed 4 research campaigns, collected 22 rock core samples, and traveled 18 miles, an impressive achievement for a robot. Now, it needs only to climb about 1,000 more feet to reach the crater rim, a goal expected to be achieved by the end of 2024. This is a milestone scientists have long anticipated. It's not just an opportunity to search for life, but also a chance to collect unimaginably ancient rock samples. Jezero crater formed about 4 billion years ago, when an unidentified object struck Mars, creating massive rocks trapped on the rim. These are the rocks Perseverance is set to collect. The secrets they hold could reshape humanity's scientific understanding. According to NASA researchers, these may be rocks from the very dawn of the solar system, right at the beginning of time. They could be the foundation of Mars, holding microscopic mysteries of the ancient environment, and possibly evidence from the time when Mars had water and maybe even civilization. The lost Zhao Kingdom. Very little is known about the ancient Zhao Kingdom. According to Chinese legend, the royal ancestor of the Zhou line was Zhu Rong, the fire god. He once served as an advisor to Emperor Shun, responsible for monitoring the weather and everything related to fire, such as preventing forest fires and managing grassland burns. By the end of the Shang dynasty, Zhu Rong's descendants migrated south to Henan province, where they established the Zhou capital at Danyang. From there, the kingdom expanded, conquering many barbarian tribes that still roamed China at the time. They called these people Mandi, though now we no longer know exactly who they were. The Zhao Kingdom then became one of the most powerful forces in China for nearly 800 years, from 1030 to 223 BC. What historians have recovered shows that the Zhao were truly extraordinary. They not only believed in ghosts, but also in magic and sorcery. Like many other ancient kingdoms, they saw death as merely a transition to another form of life. And like other cultures of the era, those of high status were buried with precious treasures to carry into the afterlife: jade statues, bronze figures, musical instruments, bamboo scrolls, and much more. They worshipped their ancestors, the legendary fire phoenix, the sun, and the mountains. But after nearly a millennium of conquest and rule, the Zhao Kingdom was defeated by the Qin king. He led 600,000 soldiers to attack the capital and completely destroyed Zhou. This marked the beginning of the campaign to unify China under a single dynasty by Ying Zheng. After the catastrophic defeat, the Zhou Kingdom collapsed, and their culture vanished from history. Prejama Castle. Perched high on the cliffs of Slovenia, Prejama Castle is famed for its secret cave system and the legendary story of Erazem Luger, a real-life Robin Hood figure, though far more mischievous and daring. Erazem's tale is filled with daring escapes, hidden tunnels, and a rather bittersweet ending. Built in the 11th century, Prejama Castle appears almost glued to the mountainside, with part of the structure carved deep into the cave. This location made it the perfect stronghold for a rebellious knight. Legend has it that Erazem made an enemy of the Holy Roman Empire after killing a royal army commander during a banquet. The feud began when the commander insulted Erazem's friend, prompting Erazem to challenge him to a duel and ultimately take his life. The real trouble, however, was that the slain man was related to Emperor Frederick III, who could hardly let such an offense go unpunished. Branded as a robber baron, a medieval outlaw, Erazem was forced to take refuge in the nearly impregnable Prejama Castle. The emperor immediately dispatched troops to lay siege to the fortress. The siege dragged on for more than a year, exactly 366 days, with the aim of starving Erazem and his men into surrender. But, contrary to expectations, Erazem showed no signs of weakening. In fact, he mocked the besiegers by tossing down fresh cherries, proving that food was in abundant supply. The secret lay in an underground tunnel. This passage connected the castle to the nearby village of Vipava, allowing Erazem to receive supplies at will while the enemy fumed in frustration. He also installed holes in the watchtowers for pouring boiling oil on attackers, a state-of-the-art defense for the era. But luck does not last forever. After more than a year of resistance, Erazem was betrayed by one of his own servants. Perhaps bribed, the traitor placed a candle in the lavatory window to signal the attackers. In a rather ignominious end, Erazem was struck by cannon fire while using the restroom, quite literally caught in the act. Yet the story does not end there. The castle and its secret tunnels remain, luring visitors to explore a cave network stretching more than 4 miles behind the fortress. In 1991, a hidden treasure was discovered beneath the castle. Erazem's coat of arms is still imprinted on the walls. Adventurous souls can rent gear to squeeze through the concealed passageways. Just remember to be careful, and perhaps don't linger too long in the lavatory. Track 61. Beneath the bustling pace of Grand Central Terminal, a New York City landmark, lies a secret a special platform known as Track 61. This isn't a place for everyday commuters, nor will you find it on your way to work in the morning. Instead, it's linked to one of America's most famous presidents and the luxurious Waldorf Astoria Hotel. Grand Central was built in 1913 by the wealthy Vanderbilt family, not just a train station, but a labyrinth of secret passages, private offices, and glass-walled galleries. But the most mysterious of all is Track 61. When the Waldorf Astoria was constructed directly above the tracks in 1931, a special underground VIP entrance was added, reserved for dignitaries, generals, and presidents who wanted to avoid the public eye. Most notably, President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Hoping to conceal his wheelchair-bound condition, he secretly used Track 61 whenever he visited New York. His private train would pull right in, and his armored limousine could be lifted directly to the hotel via a massive elevator with a capacity of 6,000 pounds. Before him, General John J. Pershing used the track after suffering a heart attack, and in 1952, presidential candidate Adlai Stevenson was spotted there. Track 61 wasn't just for politics. Rumor has it that artist Andy Warhol threw an underground party there in 1965. By the 1970s, as Grand Central fell into decline, the platform became a shelter for the homeless. Today, the track still exists, though it rarely sees luxury cars. It's maintained as a potential emergency exit for visiting world leaders. The city in the desert. Petra is one of the world's most magical places, overflowing with hidden mysteries. For centuries, it nearly vanished from Western awareness. This rock-hewn city has a history spanning thousands of years, with traces of settlement dating back to about 7000 BC. Petra includes hundreds of houses, tombs, temples, and columns, everything you can imagine. Even today, only about 15% of the city has been excavated. The rest remains buried beneath the sands. Petra was once home to the Nabateans, who arrived in the 2nd century BC. Very little is known about them or their society. However, once the Nabateans settled in Petra, they became incredibly wealthy and the city flourished. They were so renowned that many other civilizations mentioned them, including the Greeks, Chinese, and Romans. Petra's people were adept at surviving in the desert's harsh climate, skilled at collecting rainwater and farming. When enemies approached, they could vanish into the surrounding mountains. According to ancient origins, the Nabateans built with secrecy in mind, often concealing the true purpose of their structures. This helped protect their precious water supply from intruders. Historical accounts tell of many cultures marveling at their ability to manage water in an arid land. They were famous for their agricultural techniques and for knowledge of engineering, astronomy, art, and architecture. The Nabateans expanded their trade routes, creating over 2,000 trading posts throughout the Middle East. Petra's most famous temple, Al-Kazna, was built in the 1st century AD, when the city's population peaked at around 20,000 people. These ornate structures seem out of place in the barren desert, where survival is a constant struggle. Eventually, in 106 AD, Petra fell to the Romans after becoming a client state of the empire in the 1st century BC. The city's significance declined as new sea routes emerged. In 363 AD, an earthquake destroyed many buildings. After centuries of gradual decline, Petra was abandoned in the 12th century. The city was lost to the world until 1812, when Swiss explorer Johann Ludwig Burckhardt stumbled upon it while searching Africa for the source of the Niger River. He was the first European to see Petra since the Crusades, centuries earlier. Locals had guarded Petra's secrets well, but Burckhardt recorded the stone tombs in his journal, and word of the lost city carved into the rock and filled with treasure quickly spread. Sadly, Petra's rediscovery led to widespread looting. Structures already worn down by time and nature suffered further damage until excavation and preservation efforts began in recent decades. Archaeologists hope to learn more about the mysterious Nabateans as they continue to excavate the city's hidden sections. The prehistoric village beneath the sea. Advances in technology are opening new doors for archaeology, allowing researchers to access ancient sites without direct excavation. One recent example is the discovery of a 6,000-year-old Neolithic settlement beneath the sea near Croatia's coastline. Archaeologist Mate Perica first noticed the site while examining satellite images. He saw a shallow strip on the seabed off the island of Korčula and wondered, it might be natural, but maybe not. With help from a colleague, he dove into the shallow waters and discovered the ruins of an ancient village, believed to date back to about 4500 BC. At the time, the village was built on a narrow strip connecting Korčula to the mainland. Remains include sections of stone walls that once surrounded the village, along with stone tools, pottery, and flint knives, everyday items from that era. Speaking to Reuters, a local museum manager noted that finding a Neolithic settlement on a small island is extremely rare. Most such sites are discovered in caves, which are easier to inhabit and preserve. Many similar settlements may still be hidden beneath the sea, undiscovered, since finding a city that's been underwater for millennia is no easy task. Fortunately, the surrounding islands have served as a natural barrier, protecting the ancient village from Mediterranean storms and helping it survive to this day. The coffin in the olive grove. For thousands of years, the story of the Trojan War was thought to be mostly legend, as much of it was recorded by Homer, a poet and writer known for embellishment. Ancient historians once doubted the accuracy of the siege of Troy and how much of the story of love and war was real. Scenes from the battle have been found in artworks across the ancient world, and although the lost city was discovered in the 19th century, many details remain unclear. In 2015 and 2016, archaeologists unearthed a marble sarcophagus dating to the 2nd century BC from a cemetery known as the City of the Dead in northwestern Turkey. The site is tightly guarded by police to prevent theft of precious artifacts. A nearby olive grove became the center of controversy, as it is an archaeological site rumored to have yielded something very special through illegal excavations. Someone took the coffins and transferred them to a museum. Now there is a dispute over the ownership of the artifacts, who should pay for the excavation, and a host of other complications. The woman who owns the olive grove is now facing quite a headache. Meanwhile, the coffins remain safely preserved. Historians at the Iznik Archaeological Museum examined the sarcophagus and discovered small statues depicting the warrior Achilles and the Greek king Agamemnon, as well as reliefs representing spring, summer, and fall. These coffins tell the story of the Trojan War. One of them features a relief of Os holding a lotus flower, believed to have been made for the burial of a queen. It is the only artifact of its kind ever discovered. The mysterious rune inscriptions. When examining a cattle bone dating from the 7th century in the Czech Republic, archaeologist Elena Suvová discovered unusual scratches. Upon closer inspection, experts determined these were Germanic rune characters. This finding overturns the previous belief that this Slavic region had never used runes until the 9th century, leaving archaeologists astonished. These inscriptions could change our understanding of history. No one knows who carved the letters, but new research suggests the author may have been a Slavic person who learned the Germanic alphabet or a member of a Germanic tribe living in Slavic territory. Specialist Robert Nadoma identified the script as belonging to the Elder Futhark rune set, consisting of 24 letters, used by Germanic speakers in Central Europe from the 1st to the 7th century. In an official statement, scholars explained that the bone does not contain any specific message, but is instead inscribed with the last 7 letters of the alphabet, with numerous errors suggesting it was once used as a study tool. Ongoing tensions between Slavs and Germans, even into modern times, make this discovery especially significant. It has fueled increased hostilities between the two groups and suggests that writing may have appeared in the Slavic world much earlier than previously thought. At the very least, researchers hope this will prompt the discovery of more runic inscriptions to help fill gaps in the historical record. The Palace of Versailles. The Palace of Versailles is not just a world-renowned historical monument, but also a place that sparks the imagination. Everyone knows of the opulence and grandeur of the French royal residence, but hidden within are secret passageways, concealed rooms, and tunnels that seem straight out of a detective novel. Most famous is the secret passage, once used by King Louis XIV to quietly escape from gossipy courtiers and meet his lover in the shadows. The passage was hidden behind a bookshelf in the royal apartments. Its narrow, discreet staircase led straight to the gardens, allowing the king to disappear in an instant. It is said that during the French Revolution, this very passage was used to secretly smuggle people out of the palace. Today, the passage is open to visitors, but only to small groups, as the space remains as cramped as ever. King Louis XV took secrecy to a new level with the secret council room. This soundproof chamber, accessible only via a special mechanism next to the king's private quarters, was the site of confidential state meetings and secret negotiations. With luxurious silk-covered chairs, a fireplace, and a cozy atmosphere, the room looked every bit like a royal spy headquarters. Louis XIV was not just obsessed with intrigue and secrecy, he also had a fondness for the bizarre. The king once maintained a cabinet of curiosities, a private collection of rare and unusual objects. From a stuffed crocodile to a fragment of the True Cross, the room was a wonderland of oddities. Though not entirely secret, only a select few were ever allowed inside, until the room was dismantled in 1753. Marie Antoinette left her own mark as well. Beyond Versailles, she had the Petit Trianon, a small palace gifted by Louis XVI, used for gathering with friends and, according to rumor, lovers. Legend has it that a secret tunnel once connected the Petit Trianon to the main palace, allowing the queen to move about freely, away from prying eyes. Unfortunately, no one knows if the tunnel still exists. Marie Antoinette also had her own private theater, where she held plays and concerts for her inner circle. She even performed on stage herself, becoming the only queen artist in Versailles' history. No story of Versailles is complete without the legendary Hall of Mirrors, finished in 1684 with 357 glittering mirrors. Originally built to showcase Louis XIV's military triumphs, the room holds another secret. France had secretly poached master glassmakers from Venice, which then held a monopoly on high-quality glass. This blend of luxury and intrigue turned the room into a symbol of the king's absolute power. There is also a tiny royal chapel hidden behind a secret door in the king's bedroom. This was where the royal family held private religious ceremonies, with marble, gold leaf, and a lavish altar, a sacred space as magnificent as the grand halls. Finally, beneath the palace is a tunnel over half a mile long, connecting the palace to the town of Versailles. Originally built to transport food and workers out of sight of the stately grounds, the tunnel became an escape route for the royal family and loyalists during the Revolution. While no one slips through secretly today, visitors can still see its entrance on tours. But even a secret tunnel could not save a dynasty when the storm of revolution arrived. The icy tunnels. In Antarctica, beneath the Amundsen Scott Research Station, lies a network of ice tunnels, full of curiosities. Completed in 2002, they were initially built to supply fresh water and process waste. Over time, these frigid corridors, where the temperature can drop to -60 degrees Fahrenheit, have become a repository for strange keepsakes. Within the ice, researchers have set up memorials, plaques, and even items of humor. The oddest of all is a white sturgeon. In 1990, the fish was sent to the Soviet Vostok station, but was rejected and gifted to American scientists. After months in a freezer, it was discarded, but the waste team decided to keep it. Thus began the fish's odd journey across Antarctica, ending with its placement on an icy ledge near the South Pole. Now, it greets brave visitors, its lips frozen in an eternal pout. The tunnels are more than just feats of engineering. They hold the strange stories of humanity in the harshest environment on Earth. Here, in the darkness and cold, these small secrets have become a living memory of a wild, untamed land. The Cucuteni-Trypillia culture. The Cucuteni-Trypillia culture, also known as Tripoli, dates back to around 5500 BC, more than 7,500 years ago. They flourished in Eastern Europe for nearly 3,000 years. Their territory stretched from the Carpathian Mountains to southern Moldova, covering vast areas of western Ukraine and Romania. They were not a kingdom, but a society of scattered early villages that shared a common culture. Nevertheless, the Trypillia people built some of Europe's most impressive settlements before true civilization emerged. Some of their earliest villages may have housed 20,000 to 46,000 people. What's strange is that most of their settlements existed for only about 80 years. They would burn down the entire village and then move on to build a new one a few miles away. Despite clear archaeological evidence, historians still cannot explain why they did this. For thousands of years, they actually destroyed their own towns about once each century, only to relocate and start anew. Neolithic architecture. In 2012, workers discovered the remains of a prehistoric structure at a new housing development in Monmouth, Wales. The foundations of what is believed to have been a meeting house are estimated to be about 6,500 years old, possibly older than the Egyptian pyramids. No similar find has ever been made in Britain. Built from timber trunks 3 feet wide, the structure once stood beside an ancient lake that has now disappeared. Archaeologist Steve Clark told the Daily Mail that the building could date to the Bronze Age, but the archaeological team believes it is much older, possibly from the early Neolithic era. Its purpose is unknown, but it may have been a family home or a gathering place. Another notable discovery in Monmouth in 2015 was a structure called a cranog, built on stilts above a lake that has since dried up, dating to the 1st millennium AD. Dating back to the Neolithic period, this nearly 5,000-year-old structure predates the invention of metalworking. Cranogs are thought to have been symbols of power and status for Stone Age communities. This cranog stood on a base of ancient burnt stones and gravel, once used for heating water in pots. The presence of at least 4 layers of burnt stone shows the site was continuously inhabited for hundreds, perhaps thousands, of years. Clark noted that the ancient lake once covered almost all of what is now Monmouth, forming around 11,000 years ago at the end of the Ice Age. People living by the lake built boats and may have used them to travel across the sea, crossing the English Channel into northern Europe. Papen Island Cafe. In the heart of Amsterdam, there's a small cafe called Papen Island, where visitors can not only enjoy a slice of fragrant apple pie, but also touch a secret piece of history buried beneath their feet. From the outside, Papen Island looks like a classic, cozy Dutch cafe, with dark wooden walls and gentle lighting, a place where people find a bit of calm in the bustle of the city. But hidden just below that peaceful space lies a secret tunnel tied to an era of religious resistance. Rewind to the 16th and 17th centuries, during the Protestant Reformation, when Catholicism was outlawed. Catholics were forced to hold services in secret, sometimes in hidden churches, tucked away in attics like the famous Our Lord in the Attic in Amsterdam. Papen Island was once part of that underground network. A secret tunnel ran beneath the canal near the Jordan district, opening right beneath what is now the cafe, allowing Catholic worshippers to quietly attend Mass. The name Papen Island means Catholic Island. At the time, the term Papist referred to Catholics loyal to the Pope. This building once served as a safe haven for believers in a dark era. Today, Papen Island is famous throughout Amsterdam for its legendary apple pie. The crust is perfectly crisp, the apple filling is rich with cinnamon, and the pie is topped with a layer of thick, creamy whipped cream, a treat that can win anyone over. Few people realize that just below the floor, behind a small green iron gate near the basement stairs, remnants of the old tunnel remain, even if now it may just be hidden behind brooms and cleaning supplies. Putin's secret palace. On the shores of the Black Sea, beneath the luxury of the Gelendzhik Palace, lies an underground world of bunkers and fortified tunnels, constructed to protect the Russian president in the most chaotic times. This billion-dollar palace sprawls over more than 190,000 square feet, boasting a private church, a casino, an ice rink, and even a shisha lounge. It's a residence straight out of a James Bond villain's playbook, but the real secrets are buried 50 meters underground. In the early 2010s, a construction company accidentally leaked blueprints for the underground complex, revealing 2 massive tunnels designed for emergencies like revolution or war. These passageways aren't just escape routes. They're reinforced with nearly 16-inch thick concrete walls, equipped with fresh water supply, ventilation, and fire suppression systems. Notably, one tunnel leads directly to the beach, allowing the palace's owner to take an elevator down, walk through an underground corridor, and emerge on the sand. The story of this system was exposed by Alexei Navalny's Anti-Corruption Foundation, after a group of Russian diggers, urban explorers who loved to sneak into forbidden places, got hold of the blueprints. In 2021, the news swept across Russia, and thousands took to the streets, carrying golden toilet brushes to mock rumors of a $930 toilet brush in the palace. While Putin has denied ownership, the no-fly zones, extensive bunkers, and heavy security paint a very different picture. The Ellora Caves. The Ellora Caves consist of about 100 monasteries, churches, and multi-storied temples carved into the towering basalt cliffs of modern-day Maharashtra, India. Set in the western Ghats mountain range, the site has seen 3 distinct phases of construction. The first phase began around 550 to 600 AD with Hindu structures, followed by a Buddhist period lasting from about 600 to 730, and then another Hindu and Jain phase from 730 to 950. Most remarkable is the world's largest monolithic rock-cut temple, the Kailasa Temple dedicated to Shiva. Its construction removed around 220,000 tons of stone. Another significant site is the Carpenter's Cave, a Buddhist shrine built around 650, featuring a 15-foot Buddha statue in a teaching pose. Ellora declined when the region came under Islamic rule at the end of the 13th century. Today, only 34 caves are open to visitors, but signs suggest the area was regularly visited throughout its history. Sadly, the monuments suffered extensive destruction from the 15th to 17th centuries, when Islamic armies carried out campaigns of iconoclasm and destroyed religious icons. The face of Martian civilization. Next is the image of a face, one of the most famous photos ever taken on the Red Planet, sparking debate for decades. Among the countless structures rumored to have been found on Mars, nothing matches this statue. It was one of the first photos sent back from Mars, shocking the scientific community more than 40 years ago and fueling a wave of curiosity that has never faded. People call it a monument, but in reality, no one knows what it truly is. The only thing certain is its shape, a giant face, sculpted in relief, gazing upward from the Martian surface. This was the image captured by Viking 1, the first spacecraft to successfully land on Mars. Viking 1 launched from Earth in the summer of 1975, and just a month later, Viking 2 followed. The camera on Viking 1 snapped thousands of photos to search for a landing site and sent them back to Earth. On the morning of July 20th, 1976, the lander separated from orbit, plunging to the Martian surface at 10,000 miles per hour. Weeks later, on September 3rd, Viking 2 also landed successfully. Together, the two craft captured about 50,000 images of Mars, and among them was the now legendary face. From the start, NASA dismissed any strange phenomena seen in distant planetary images, insisting these were just natural formations. The famous face became a focal point for controversy. Scientists quickly declared it was just a wind-eroded rock formation. But the press was relentless. Headlines like, "Monkey Face on Mars" filled American newsstands. Just one photo inspired a whole genre of books, such as Richard Hoagland's The Monuments of Mars, where he claimed NASA had photographed an entire city on Mars, with the face as just one part of a sprawling complex. In 1998 and 2001, the mystery of the face was supposedly debunked by higher-resolution images. Whether or not you choose to believe is up to you, but research suggests it's all just a trick of light and shadow. The mysterious tube that baffled NASA. But it would be hard to claim the next photo is just a trick of the light. What kind of trouble could NASA get into if it accidentally littered a new planet? Perhaps scientists themselves are interplanetary litterbugs, or maybe the strange object in this new image is not what NASA says it is. Before saying more, look closely at the photo. Everything only makes sense when you see it for yourself. A metallic cylinder lies abandoned on the red sand. This image was captured by Perseverance in 2022. Even an untrained eye can see. The strange tube is clearly a product of modern machinery. There's no way it's a rock. Online, people quickly concluded this was an artificial object, possibly a relic from an ancient civilization, or even debris from a crashed UFO. NASA didn't try to dodge the issue. They promptly confirmed that the object belonged to them, a component intentionally released by the rover to swap out a new drill bit. The truth is, humanity has already begun leaving trash on Mars, even though no one has set foot there yet. Scientists even call it a robot graveyard. After dozens of missions, countless pieces of equipment have been abandoned, turning Mars into NASA's own junkyard. That may sound dramatic, but it also explains the strange tube. It's not alien technology. According to NASA, it's just a worn drill bit, discarded by the rover after installing a new tool. Unless, of course, NASA is hiding something bigger. Maybe this really is a fragment of an alien spacecraft, and they're taking the blame to avoid sparking global panic. If NASA really is covering something up, what other secrets might they be keeping? And could the next things we're about to see be among them? The 9,000-year-old tools. Around 9,000 years ago, a group of ancient people left behind a collection of stone tools at Lake Huron. A recent study revealed these implements were made from obsidian, a volcanic glass sourced from a quarry more than 2,000 miles away, in what is now Central Oregon, making them the oldest known examples of Western obsidian ever found in the United States. Ashley Lemke, assistant professor of sociology and anthropology at the University of Texas at Arlington, told SciTech Daily that these artifacts reveal a vast network of social connections that once spanned ancient North America. She said, "These are tiny fragments, but they tell a much bigger story." Divers recovered the artifacts from an undisturbed underwater site as part of a broader study into the lives of reindeer hunters at the end of the last ice age. The tools were originally left on dry land, at a time when water levels were much lower, and were later submerged as the glaciers melted. Lemke emphasized the importance of underwater archaeology, since these sites are often far better preserved than those on land, offering an unprecedented opportunity for researchers to explore the past. The bed in the tomb. In Kozani, northern Greece, archaeologists recently announced a remarkable discovery: a bed and the remains of a wealthy first-century woman, believed to be connected to the god Apollo. Excavated between 2018 and 2020, this is the first time a preserved bed has ever been found in Greece, and the first instance of a burial of this kind. The bed survived for thousands of years, mainly because it was made from brass. The wooden components had decayed by the time it was found. Last year, archaeologists reconstructed the original bed, filling in all the missing parts. This fascinating find confirms that in ancient Greece, people were sometimes buried on their beds. The woman's identity remains unknown, but the quantity of jewelry and a golden laurel wreath suggest she was either very wealthy or possibly royalty. She died in middle age. If not wealthy, she may have held a religious role. The bed was decorated with fish-shaped finials and images of water birds holding snakes, symbols of Apollo. The laurel wreath on her head also symbolizes Apollo, the god associated with the laurel tree. Ongoing tests will reveal her age and cause of death, while archaeologists are working on a full-scale model of the bed. The Kingdom of Urartu. Turkish archaeologists have continued to uncover extraordinary finds about the lost Kingdom of Urartu. Over the past 5 years, they have excavated in Van Province, especially at the nearly 3,000-year-old Kavu Fortress. Another massive site is Van Fortress, built from the 9th to 7th centuries BC and associated with 2 generations of kings, Darius and Xerxes. Recently, archaeologists found tombs containing the remains of Urartian citizens who died 2,750 years ago, deep in ancient, long-forgotten cemeteries. So, who were the Urartians? Their kingdom rose during the Iron Age, settled in the high mountains of what is now northern Turkey, Iran, and Mesopotamia. Emerging in the middle of the 9th century BC, they held great power in the Middle East for 300 years, only to suddenly vanish. Today, just a few ruins remain, including the mysterious Kavu Steep Fortress in the mountains, which was used well into the Middle Ages. The site is filled with information. Scientists are still trying to decode secret rooms, niches, inscriptions, broken pottery, the remains of sacrificial animals, possibly all for the worship of Haldi, the god of war. The greatest mystery is what happened to the Urartians. Some historians think they were wiped out by neighboring Assyrians, or by the Scythians, Sumerians, or Medes. They had many enemies eager to erase their kingdom from history. The Maya mural. In 2003, a resident of the village of Chajul, Guatemala, decided to renovate his house. When he chipped away the outer plaster, he discovered a brilliant mural. Behind the wall was a vibrant Maya painting, depicting figures dressed in a blend of Spanish and traditional Maya clothing, taking part in some sort of ritual. Sensing the importance of his find, Mr. Ramirez contacted a local archaeologist, who passed the information to experts at a Polish university. The archaeologists explained that the painting is difficult to interpret because of its mix of European and indigenous clothing. The figures seem to be dancing, holding something in their hands. The research team believes it might be a human heart, but they are not yet sure. After centuries buried, the painting suffered severe fading when exposed to air for the first time. The team had to move quickly to study and document it. Using information, Ramirez provided a challenge in a country where so many records have been destroyed by war. Guatemala is home to the world's largest surviving Maya community, and experts believe many more murals remain to be discovered. The artwork in Ramirez's kitchen is a unique blend of pre-Columbian and colonial European elements, unlike Maya murals from the southern region. The Etruscans. The Etruscans flourished in Italy for centuries before Rome was even founded. They appeared in the 8th century BC and disappeared by the 3rd century BC. This was the last native Italian kingdom to be destroyed and absorbed into Rome. Yet the Romans learned much from the Etruscans, including clothing, religious beliefs, and architecture. Many Etruscan tombs, monuments, temples, and works of art can still be found across Italy. They are considered the first truly great civilization of Italy before Rome. The Etruscans were united by language, religion, and culture, but never politically unified. Each ancient city of Etruria was an independent state, with its own king and its own unique development. They produced their own goods, art, and customs. Coastal cities developed faster, and the whole region thrived thanks to internal trade. However, their prosperity ended abruptly in the 3rd century BC. Rome, once a friendly neighbor, began to grow stronger and extend its influence. The Etruscans faced 200 years of invasions by northern Celtic tribes. By 280 BC, when Rome finally defeated all the major Etruscan cities, they had no choice but to collapse and surrender to the powerful Roman Empire. The secret door on Mars. Step through this door and you'll find yourself inside a hidden city deep beneath the surface of Mars, a city of real extraterrestrials living underground to escape the planet's harsh cosmic radiation. That's the scene anyone might imagine when looking at this photo, though the real truth remains unknown. What you see is a red rock face featuring a rectangular opening that immediately evokes the idea of a doorway. This is the photo captured by NASA's Curiosity rover on May 7, 2022, a single image that instantly set the online world ablaze. As soon as it hit the internet, debate erupted. Everyone had something to say about the so-called alien door, with endless speculation about what secrets might be hiding behind that mysterious entrance. As always, NASA was quick to dampen the rumors, backed by scientists from around the world who are ready to dismiss any strange phenomenon in planetary photos as natural processes. This time, standing with NASA was British geologist Neil Hudson. According to him, it's not a door at all, but rather the product of natural weathering. Weathering, he said, creates movement, and that door is simply a crack in the rock. Still, to the naked eye, the image looks remarkably like a doorway, especially given that scientists say this entrance is just about 1 meter tall. Maybe Martians, if they exist, are tiny creatures after all. Planetary geologist Nicholas Mangold also agrees with the weathering theory, suggesting that Martian winds created a crack so perfect it resembles a square-shaped door. But what if there's more to the story? What if Neil and Nicholas are mistaken? Perhaps the mystery of the door ends there. But now, let's turn to another controversial discovery, a supposed UFO on Mars. Let's see how scientists explain this one. The first image of the shaman of Mars. Mars might be buzzing with extraterrestrial activity. Some people even claim the red planet serves as a way station for alien spacecraft en route to Earth, allowing them to observe us from afar. One of the first pieces of evidence for that theory appeared when the Curiosity rover landed on Mars in 2012. You've probably noticed Curiosity comes up a lot in today's stories because it's the eye that's captured most of the internet's most talked about Martian photos. This was the beginning of a wave of rumors about Martians. In the first set of images beamed back to Earth, a strange object showed up in the distance, a blurry sphere, isolated in the landscape. In the first image, it's there. In the next, it seems to rise from the surface, then vanishes completely. It's as if an unidentified flying object was startled by the arrival of the rover lifting off, shaking off the dust, and disappearing into space. Even NASA scientists didn't know what they'd witnessed at first. The public, however, was unanimous. UFO. That's definitely a UFO. But NASA quickly dismissed it, claiming the strange object was just dust kicked up by the sky crane during the rover's landing. If so, it's a rather disappointing conclusion. But what about the video uploaded to YouTube, showing Curiosity's images of the Gale crater rim? With some filters applied, it seems to show 4 saucers hovering above the landscape. Nearly 1 million views poured in within the first few days, with countless people convinced UFOs had actually appeared on Mars. As usual, Experts insisted it was nothing more than dead pixels on the rover's camera sensor. 4 faulty pixels just happened to create the illusion of strange spaceships on the horizon. If it's hard to believe Mars is a landing site for alien spaceships, maybe it's easier to accept the discovery of ancient marine fossils. Traces of coral reefs. If Mars was once covered by oceans, wouldn't its surface be littered with traces of ancient marine life like fossilized dolphins or Martian sea creatures? And, according to recent photos sent back by Curiosity, that might not be so far-fetched. After fossilized dragon bones, now there's a piece of what looks like fossilized coral. This photo, taken on February 24, 2022, appears to show something identical to a fossilized coral sample, but scientists disagree. They assert that the fossil flower has no biological origin. According to NASA, it's merely a mineral formation, crystallized over billions of years, with no connection to coral reefs or ancient deep-sea life. Why do scientists always seem to let us down? Take a look at the comparison. On the right is a piece of fossilized sponge from Earth. On the left is the Martian mystery photographed by the rover. Is there anything there to make you believe Mars once had oceans teeming with life? While the scientific explanation might be different, these images continue to ignite the imagination. Maybe future missions with even more advanced technology will one day confirm that Mars was once a vibrant ocean world. The lost culture of Fiji. Before Europeans ever set foot on the islands of Fiji, the indigenous Fijians had already developed their own complex society. They held ceremonies at megalithic stone structures called Naga massive stoneworks, not unlike the megaliths found throughout the United Kingdom. Yet, archaeologists are fairly certain about the Fijians' use for these Naga monuments. Each Naga featured stone altars used for fertility rites. People hoped for more children, more livestock, and bountiful crops. They may also have used these stone structures to communicate with ancestors and perform other secret rituals. The nature of these rituals remains a major mystery, thanks to the secrecy maintained by the families who practiced them. Many tribal elders knew almost nothing about the ceremonies, except that trespassing in certain areas risked offending the gods. In the 19th century, Europeans began to take an interest in Fiji for trade. The locals had sea cucumbers prized by Europeans, along with highly valuable sandalwood. Foreigners exploited nearly all the resources until the sandalwood was gone. By the 1850s, the Kingdom of Bao had risen to dominate most of Fiji, aided by European-supplied rifles. But Bao's dominance was short-lived. Roman Catholic missionaries swept through the islands, converting the indigenous people to Catholicism. Within just 50 years, Fiji had been colonized by Europeans. The grand Naga stones were forgotten, and the ancient rituals vanished almost overnight. The forgotten native settlement. A team of archaeologists now believe they have all but pinpointed the location of a once thriving indigenous community in northeastern Florida. The name of this mysterious settlement appears in historical records from both France and Spain, dating back to the 1560s. Yet for decades, its true location remained a mystery for researchers. Now, the team from the University of North Florida believes they've found the answer. Their discovery comes from the Mocama Archaeological Project. For those unfamiliar, the Mocama were among the first native peoples to meet the Spanish in the 1560s. They were also the first to face brutal warfare brought by the English, along with the devastating diseases of European colonization. All that tragic history fell upon them. In the end, the Mocama people were completely erased by the Europeans, leaving no trace today. That's why finding this settlement is especially meaningful. The team uncovered 50 shards of Spanish ceramics, along with artifacts of stone, bone, and shell, and debris that may have once been homes. Excavations will continue for the next 3 years, and the team hopes the mystery will soon be solved. The long-lost couple. One day in 1942, Marcellin Dumoulin and his wife, Francine, set out to tend livestock in the Swiss Alps near Savieres, but they never returned. Their 7 children grew up never knowing what happened to their parents. Custody of the children was divided among local families, and life simply moved on. Their bodies were finally found in 2017, wedged in a glacier at 8,580 feet above sea level. A ski lift worker first spotted them, at first thinking they were 2 black rocks, only to realize on closer inspection that they were human remains. The bodies wore clothes matching the period when the Dumoulins disappeared, raising hopes the long-lost couple had finally been found. DNA testing confirmed their identity. By then, only 2 of their children were still alive. The discovery finally brought closure to the people of Savieres, who had wondered about the couple's fate for nearly a century. If you found these mysterious stories fascinating, let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming discoveries. We'll see you in the next video.